Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Liberty Libations number 78. There it is. All right. My name is Jake Green. Thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. We have Mr. Stephen Hilton, Mr. Zane Placie, and Mr. Nick Ciesieslki with us. What is it? Zane, what are you drinking, man? What the heck was that?
This is orange juice. I need that post-convention vitamin C.
And you're drinking it out of a chalice, which I love. Steven, what are you drinking, man?
This is a little bit of the homebrew.
All right.
Yeah,
Got a name for it?
I had to spend 4 hours cleaning out the beer fridge. There was a keg that blew up like a month ago, and I didn't know about it. So I had to get some hot sanitizer, and I was on my hands and knees with a paint scraper, just rolling taffy. Man, it was one hell of a mess. But I got it clean now, and I got about 12 kegs to go through. So,
jeez, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be homebrew for a while now. I've got a backlog.
Heck yeah, Nick, you drinking anything?
Yeah, I got some mead that I made. Finally brought it from my parents' house to my house. Drinking it out of my official Liberty Libations glass that you can get at peacefulsea.something.
Peacefulsea.network. You can find it there.
Right.
There we go. Hey, hold that up again, man. I like that clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Dude,
holy cow.
Solid glass. Brian appreciates your mood lighting, Nick. Nick, your room's coming together, man. It's starting to look real nice. I like it.
I try. You see the deer skull up on the wall above me?
Yeah, I do see that. It's awesome. I'm drinking. I too got sick after a convention, so I'm drinking just coconut water from Costco.
Right on.
Some electrolytes since I've actually been up here. I'm in Montana right now building our house again. Floor joists got put down yesterday, and subfloors getting put down tomorrow. So pretty stoked.
See, I just left a bunch of doorknobs before convention. That way I didn't get sick at it.
Wow, even Grumpy is only drinking sweet tea. So yeah, everybody's recovering from convention weekend, even those who didn't even go to it. So
I only drink beer 2 days a week or 2 days a year when it's raining and when it's not.
So, okay, yeah, those are 2 good days to drink beer, though.
Right, it just has not raining today.
I got drunk Wednesday night there, and then I was pretty much sober the rest of the time.
Yeah, I think I had 2 drinks total. One, I stayed up way too late with Brad Binkley and fake Trump. We were up till like 2:30 in the morning. A super high fake Trump is about the funniest thing there is. Highly recommend y'all go follow Brad Binkley over on Twitter. He had a lot of coverage of the LP convention this past week. It was highly entertaining. He came up with his buddy Josh, who imitates Trump, went to the Trump speech. They had Secret Service following them around. And so when people took pictures of them, it looks like fake Trump has Secret Service like protecting him. But it was them following him around, making sure they wouldn't cause a scene or anything like that.
Did fake Trump go to the real Trump show?
Yeah. Yes, he did. It was awesome. He tried to get up close to him, but the Secret Service wasn't having it. So,
yeah, of course. Secret Service.
Well, y'all,
the only
today's
guy
episode
that had Secret Service trouble at the Trump event.
No, Star Child got beat by hotel security.
Oh, that was just hotel security.
Oh.
That was just it might be technically their special police. I think it falls under. Because at least I saw some badges at one point of people dressed like that, and it said special police. So I think because they're such a big hotel with a lot of big events. I mean, presidents go there all the time, so they have professional security, probably with arrest powers. So I don't know what went down. The video I saw was not looking great on them, but also people that I know that were there. Well, one guy that I saw a comment from that was sitting, he said literally right next to it has a picture of Star Child signed basically in his face. Star Child was just all over the place, and security told him like 6 times to settle down and get off the chair. And then
all right, we're going to get into this.
Okay.
We're going to get into this. We're going to get into convention in a second. I know we got a lot more subscribers over the week of convention. We were putting out ads like crazy at convention. We put out flyers. We had advertisement up on the screen, and it seems like we were on the stream as well, because for some reason our ad got somehow linked with some questionable hot mic moments, which we'll get to in a little while. So yeah,
And then there were
anybody
the
out there
hate
who's
flyers
new-
that someone put out.
Yeah, we had a whole
Someone
hate
was
flyer on
protesting us.
Saturday. Yeah, telling people not to listen to the show. So, it is what it is. Yeah, y'all. For anybody who's new, it's me, Steven, Zane, Nick, our producer, Zach, behind the scenes. And then we have a fifth member, Alden, Hardee. We generally only do four people at one time. So everybody gets a week off during the month. And we talk about news, culture from the week. We do 30 minutes-ish of trivia. We have a drunkard of the week, which you can nominate people for drunkard of the week through our Twitter, through our X, Liberty Libation. And generally we just talk. We put a liberty spin on everything that we talk about. We try to stay close to libertarian values, anarchism, that kind of stuff, anarcho-capitalism.
We're that fun show that gets you into your weekend.
There we go. Yeah. And we drink. So,
oh yeah,
like most libertarians do.
Okay.
Let's see.
I always knew it was a joke that like libertarians drink a lot, but being at this convention, it's not a joke. It's the literal truth that half the people in the Libertarian Party seriously need a 12-step program. It's
honestly, it for a moment it made me rethink our show because. Dude, me and Nikki got there at about 9:45 on Friday morning, and the row behind us was Florida, and the Florida guys were already talking about how this bartender serves strong drinks, this bartender doesn't. They already had their drinks lined up. It was 10 o'clock in the dadgum morning doing business. It's something that I actually don't appreciate about libertarian world is the amount of drinking at any given time. I would much prefer people have some self-control and not drink during business.
To be fair, kind of being around 1,000 libertarians will make anyone drink.
Oh, well, that does make sense. I mean, by the end of the weekend, I wanted to be hanging from the rafters. So, it was a long weekend. All right, Nick, who is this? Or Zach, who is this? Who is this show sponsored by? Let's throw that up there. This show is brought to you by Rabbit Eye Wine. It is a blueberry wine based here in the state of Georgia, where Steven and Zane are currently. You can order it online, or if you're in the state of Georgia, you can go pick it up in person at a bunch of different locations, or you can go visit their winery. So go to rabbiteyewine.com to learn more. You can go follow them on Twitter as well. And delicious wine. I mean, I believe, let's see, next week, a week from tonight, you will be able to win a bottle of blueberry wine. You can go to peacefulseed.network and go to the Rabbit Eye Wine giveaway tab on our website to learn how to receive your free bottle of wine if you win the drawing. So go check it out. All right, y'all. As we've already started talking, we had a convention this past week. Libertarian Party had its national convention. It was, I thought last convention in 2022 was crazy. This was a whole different level of insanity. We had, I mean, to start, so many people were upset that we invited RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, and Donald Trump to come speak at the convention, which ended up being a massive success. It brought more attention to the Libertarian Party convention than has ever been present ever at one of our events. We got coverage from every single major news organization, from massive podcasts. so many people were there trying to
Tim Pool was
get
doing his show live
Who was?
there. Tim Pool was
Oh, yeah,
doing
Tim
his
Pool.
show live.
Yep.
You know, we had some great performers. That French guy was fairly funny. The Alex Stein.
Louis Laurent.
Yeah, however you say it. I don't speak frog.
Fair enough. Yeah. Overall, like I thoroughly enjoyed myself despite the last day of business going until 1 a.m. It was a long freaking day of business. I mean, how many hours is that? Like 16 hours straight of dilatory nonsense and saying point of personal privilege.
We pretty much got an entire extra day of business just by having another 8 hours of business after the last day of business.
Yes,
I mean, to be fair, like we lost a ton of business time. Like Friday when we started, we had the RFK thing was around 4:00, so we were done at that point, and then in the middle of that we had to go to regional breakout things, which sucked because I kind of wanted to watch RFK more. And then we had then Saturday there were like 2 debates that went on, and then the Trump stuff happened. We had to leave there like at 5:00 to go run back to your room to put your stuff down to go through security lines for 8:00. So it was like 3 hours of just waiting for Trump to perform live.
Yep. Hannah asks, didn't you guys not even get to everything that was supposed to be done?
We never get to everything.
Yeah, nothing. We'd never get to everything at a convention ever.
We
didn't get to bylaws. We didn't get to platform. It is what it is. I don't really care.
Spent 18 months working on those bylaws, and then platform. There was some really good stuff that needed to be added, and some really bad stuff that needed to go, and we didn't get to any of that. And yeah, that's a good point. We didn't get the bylaws in Reno either. We got to like speed round of platform in Reno where we just stood around and voted yes on everything that was read, which resulted in like an old version of a Stephen Kinsella written plank getting put in instead of the updated version that was supposed to go in there.
Great.
But
Buddy says, standing back, standing by. I have no idea what that means. What are you talking about, Buddy? Isn't it past your bedtime anyway? Shouldn't you not be watching this show? Buddy came on our late night show on Saturday after the Trump event. It was awesome. We had a few guests come on that evening, including Dave Benner. That was a really fun night, that Trump speech. We'll get to that in a second. Go ahead, Nick.
I meant to come join you for that, but like immediately after the Trump thing, I went to go find Afro Man and watch the Superman perform. And
that's fair.
Afro Man, and then that was a lot of fun because he was down in the room and it wasn't too crowded, and he just got up there and he performed his 3 latest. You know, he performed "Will You Help Me Repair My Door," and then he did lemon pound cake, and then finished that up with Hunter Got High, and it was just a fun time down there. And then he was out. Like, God, it was so funny. I mean, he's wearing his like American flag suit and just American flag glasses, and just like,
it was epic.
And like he walked past me in the security line to get into the Trump thing, and I was like, nice. Yo, what up, Afro Man? He pounded it, and then so he was cool as shit. And then nice. he met Trump, and there's a picture of them shaking hands.
That's so funny.
How funny is that a libertarian convention, you've got American suit dressed Afro Man meeting Donald Trump.
That is wild, man. That is another world. It is another world. Some quack says maybe if we can amend the bylaws, we wouldn't have to do this insufferable waste of time voting anymore.
That was the problem. We had so many things to fix that issue. First off was standing seconds so that it just doesn't take 2 people to slow stuff down. Then there was a proposal to put electronic voting in there.
Ooh, interesting. That would have been shot down. We wouldn't have gotten.
Well, no. It was very, very broad, and it was a very broad framework that basically just said, here's the requirements that it takes Like it had to be a system that also produced a paper ballot that was be used for any recounts and challenges. The delegates, the LNC would have to spell out 90 days in advance of the convention what system, if any, they're using. Then the delegates would still have to approve it when you got there. Like
We're getting dangerously close to the manhole cover conversation from 2 weeks ago.
You know what, Zane? The people like the manhole cover conversation.
Right?
No one likes the manhole cover conversation. I can attest to how quickly our numbers fell during the manhole cover conversation.
Can you check and see how many of our viewers we've lost since Nick started talking?
Oh, they come back for trivia anyway.
We've actually gained 2 viewers since Nick started talking.
So there were some great things, and I spent 18 months, and I'll probably get back on. I'm going to try to get back on to try to finish the job and get something passed. And I'm also going to try to propose a bylaw that says you can't promise that you're going to win the election because,
dude,
that's not going to happen.
That's the one. That's the one. Okay, we need to do 2 things. One being the presidential and vice presidential nominees cannot say that they are going to win the election. It should not be allowed.
You're disqualified.
It is a joke that in no way, shape, or form for the next 5 to 30 years is a libertarian going to become president. Okay, on the libertarian ticket. Maybe if they snuck in through the Republicans, maybe. But the other thing that people need to stop saying is setting the world free in our lifetime.
Yep.
That is the most ambiguous, dumbass, meaningless statements that there is.
I also dislike party of principle. What principle?
I don't mind that so much. Point out certain principles. And I like the idea of keeping things principled, whereas the other 2 parties have no principles whatsoever. They'll flip-flop on a dime.
Right, but saying that we're the party of principle doesn't actually clarify what our principles are. So that's a whole nother step just to market what we're about.
I'm fine with that. If it makes people dig a little further into what we actually stand for, then I'm fine with that. But y'all, the setting the world free in our lifetimes. First of all, nobody who's ever said that has set their town free. No one has ever set their state free. No one has set their country free. There's not a chance on earth you're setting 200 countries free in the next 60 years.
Yeah, let's start with one Hoppian city.
For a lot of those people.
Let's start with one Hoppian city state, and we'll go from there.
The Gray says party of principle is better than the loser party.
What if our
principle is losing?
You're right about that. What'd you say, Zane?
What if our principle is losing?
Then we are really doing a great job at sticking to our principles. All right. In my opinion, the best thing that came out of the convention was Zach. Put it up on screen, buddy. Last night, Trump pledged to commute my sentence on day 1 if reelected. Thank you, thank you, thank you. After 11 years in prison, it is hard to express how I feel at this moment. It is thanks to your undying support that I may get a second chance. That was Ross Ulbricht. If you don't know who Ross Ulbricht is, go look him up. We're not going to talk about him for a super long time tonight, but he is somebody who's currently in jail serving 2 life sentences for a crime for making a website. For the crime of making a website is what it came down to. And yeah, go ahead, Nick.
RFK also committed if he's elected to it. So what needs to happen now is Sleepy Joe needs to realize that this could be a swing issue on voters, and he just needs to commute Ross's sentence right now. You know, don't let Donald Trump have this, Joe Biden. Commute his sentence right now.
Honestly, if Biden wanted to spike the ball in front of RFK and Trump, he should absolutely do that. That's going to be
and buy cocaine off of it to give to his son.
There we go. Man, I really like that idea.
Yeah, with Bitcoin.
With Bitcoin, there we go.
Hey, Trump pledged in there to defend your right to self custody, which Sleepy Joe is currently attacking.
He did. Trump's speech was first of all, he was a contestant for Drunkard of the Week because the number of times he referred to himself in the third person was astounding. He goes, during Trump's presidency, he was able to do this and he was able to do that. And he just kept saying,
it's wild.
To be fair to him, the reason why he was doing that was because like more than half of his speech was him reading an article that somebody else wrote describing his presidency.
Someone that he declared to be a libertarian.
But
yeah, he did declare to be a libertarian, which is
someone I had not heard of.
The whole thing
when he said he was a libertarian, that was one hell of a what's the literary term for that? A paraprosdokian, I think it is, where the end of the sentence is so wrong from what the first part of the sentence is, it makes you rethink everything they just said.
That's exactly what I was about to allude to. It was like he said he was a libertarian and then talked about all his awesome accomplishments that were completely anti-libertarian, anti-freedom. It just counteracted everything.
One of my favorite parts on that is when he's, talking up his NRA gun, his NRA endorsement for his staunch defense of guns, and he got booed because we're so damn autistic that we can't be like, a generally pro-gun organization endorsed you. It's like, no, that's the NRA. They're the enemy. And then you've got
RB says, and waving to imaginary friends and his great friend Leroy. I think it was D-Roy. I think was his actual friend that he was talking. Yeah,
D-Roy Murdoch. Who I had never heard of, but we did get somebody to show up to our Libertarian Party of Fulton County meetup on Tuesday night, who lifelong Republican, but came to our event because he had heard Trump talking about D-Roy Murdoch and how he's a libertarian. So apparently some people know who he is.
That's wild, man, that he heard Trump talking about that and showed up at your LP Fulton meeting. That is nuts.
But then,
no one knows who that is. I mean, he's a Murdoch, so he's a Fox News dude. But he's not a libertarian. No one in the LP had ever heard of him. I didn't know a single person there who'd heard of D-Roy Murdoch.
I don't pay attention to the enemy class like that.
Yeah, me neither.
Wait, isn't that Danny Glover's character on Lethal Weapon?
What? Murdoch? Yes.
Yeah.
D-Roy, I don't know.
Yeah.
Steven, you didn't get to go to convention this year. Did you get to follow along at all during the weekend? What were your thoughts?
So I was popping in here and there, just checking social media, popping into the live stream here and there. And since I have made it a point to watch Vivek's speech and his debate, I guess you could call it, with Clint Russell, wasn't much of a debate.
Podcast.
It was a moderated handshake with Dave Smith in the middle.
Yes.
Group hug.
Right. Yeah. So all those parts were great. I haven't seen RFK's speech just yet. But
RFK's was the best speech.
Okay. I saw Trump's speech. Yeah. I think Vivek knocked it out of the park. It was almost an arrogance on him, his level of confidence and I'm a libertarian. I've been a libertarian. And I've noticed this trend even around Georgia. Anytime I can get in front of a state legislator or somebody running for office, on the Republican ticket. So David Bell Isle, he's the former mayor of Alpharetta. His big accomplishment was he built that Halcyon shopping center, and he was running for Secretary of State, got stomped out. But I went to one of his little rallies down in Crawford County, and I was talking to him, let him know, I was with the Libertarian Party. And he goes, "Oh, really?" And then just totally Dutch uncled me. Just knew so much more about the Libertarian Party than I did. About all the candidates previously, what their platforms were. I mean, it's like he wrote his doctorate on it or something. It was wild. And there's a growing trend of that in the GOP. I've noticed. Phil Singleton, he's a guy. He just got stomped out of the US 3 race here. He was a former state rep from Noonan that got gerrymandered out of his seat because he stood up against the COVID lockdowns. And let him know I was a libertarian. And he said, first off, don't say that out loud here at my rally.
Okay,
but
so
he's like, second off, me too.
My question for that then, if you clearly talk to some of these folks more than I do, do you think that's because of libertarian messaging and how we've been able to get on bigger platforms, or do you think that's just a natural thing that happens within the Republican Party?
No, I think it's a growing trend. I think it's we're not quite as counterculture as we think we are. We do have very popular ideas, and when the ideas make sense, they more often get adopted by the GOP. And there's a growing trend, within the GOP. Now, obviously, the establishment faction is trying to shoulder these people out, but they do exist all around Georgia.
The Gray 99 wants to know, what is a Dutch uncle, and does it involve farts and bed sheets?
Kind of. No. Dutch uncle is just somebody that just talks frank to you and kind of educates you in an abrasive way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, there's a growing trend in that, and those are the people that are trying to get shouldered out by the establishment. And so Vivek Ramaswamy is not really an outlier, and he was even saying that at the convention. He's not the only one.
Yeah.
And they do exist on the local level. I mean, hell, Marty Harbin, in a sense, state senator here in Georgia, he knows a whole bunch about the Libertarian Party too. So just because we only get 2 to 3% of the vote doesn't mean we're not on these people's radar. They do study us.
That's interesting to know. I like a lot of what Vivek has to say. I do find him so confident and so smooth that it's hard to trust the dude. Plus, he owns a pharmaceutical company. Yeah. So, it makes it super hard to trust him. But it seems like what he wants is to become the heir to Trump. And this is what he was kind of pitching in a roundabout way at the convention, in my opinion. Once he inherits Trump's MAGA crowd, he will try to use his platform for libertarian ideals within the Republican Party. Now, we've been promised that before, and people have said that before, and it doesn't turn out. But
how many of those people came to our convention?
There we go. That's the real question.
And out libertarian our candidates on the stage.
Yeah. And so I'm interested to see what happens.
I think some quack makes a good point. Vivek is underwhelming among libertarians and impressive among D's and R's. I've always found Justin Amash to be that way too. Like when he was a Republican in the House, he was among the best. He comes over here, he's kind of boring.
Yeah. Do you think the party makes people boring?
Well, I think when you're looking at the rest of it, he's voting along a radical line. Then he comes over to the real radicals.
Yeah,
and he comes off moderate from that point.
Interesting.
We should do things this way and that, and we're like, I don't know, let's just tear it down and figure it out later.
Yeah, and I think that's the real issue is the people in power whom we convert to come to libertarianism have already been in the system and already have a preconceived notion of how it works. And so rather than making drastic reform or tearing it down, all they want to do is do incremental change with almost everything, which is boring to libertarians, but for some reason is terrifying to establishment people. And so there's that weird little middle area where that person is going to fail as a libertarian if they're preaching incremental change, but they're going to fail as a Republican or Democrat if they're speaking incremental change. So I don't know. The question, I guess, then becomes, do we need to find candidates and people to actually get in office that come from a strictly libertarian background and never been in public office before as a Republican or a Democrat?
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know. I think there's a difference between where somebody ultimately wants to end up and what they think should happen in the next year. Because even if I were elected to Congress tomorrow, it's not like I could just say, oh, let's dissolve the federal government. I mean, I could say that, but it wouldn't really work to just introduce a bill or something to dissolve the federal government because it would be obvious to everyone it wouldn't actually get anywhere. So I think a lot of the time, maybe these liberty Republicans, and I have this critique about, lots of libertarians that have run for office, is that if you get too far in the weeds of like actual policies, people start getting bored. It is important if you are actually empowered to have actual policies that will achieve liberty. But if you're just primarily a communicator, literally nobody cares what your exact policy details are because you will never be empowered.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's possible. I think it's not only possible, but I think necessary. And maybe this is somewhat moderate of me, but we should be messaging as radical as possible, and then accepting, a pragmatic step here and there. There's the debate over school vouchers. Like, well, anything that breaks the monopoly of the government school system, at least there's this, at least creating those options is the first step.
Yeah.
And then there's the argument, well, you're still, then there's the Hornberger, well, you're still a socialist because you're taking people's money, right? So I get
Hornberger
the argument
goes all out, man. Hornberger does not mess around.
I'm sympathetic to if you're messaging it, the message has to be abolition of the system, but the practical step is let's break the government school monopoly and start moving it towards something. So I think there's a way to do both, and I think that's something that the historical Prague radical split within the parties. The Prags have always been let's message and push stuff as if we're from the middle, and the radicals are the tear it all down, no steps there. And I think there's a very important middle ground there where we stay radical in the messaging and radical radical in the messaging and radical in the ends, and then take the pragmatic means when they're available. That's how the left got where they were, right? They stand there and go free healthcare, and then they go, well, we're going to take Obamacare, and then we're going to bitch and whine anytime anyone tries to get rid of that, right? It's like it's that ratchet effect, and you've got to turn it around and bring that ratchet back in our direction rather than continuing to cede that to the left.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely. And depending on which facet of government they're getting into, they all have their different machinations, subcommittees, committees, this group, that caucus, that like you have to have allegiances and alliances, and it's, face value. It's who do you know? What can you actually make happen? And if you're a rookie and a third party rookie, they're just going to fart in their general direction. That's it. They're not going to pay you any attention.
Now, shout out to two guys doing some good work that were there. Thomas Massey, who was hanging out. I took a picture with him. Great guy. Introduced an end the Fed bill to the House, and then Senator Mike Lee is introducing an end the Fed bill to the Senate.
There we go.
Even though Mike Lee, was like, "Oh, President Trump's on board with us for stuff," and everyone's like, "Boo." His end the Fed bill, great. And then he went on the news and lied and was like, "Oh no, I think everyone there is on board with Trump." And I'm like, he's getting
he spoke before Trump came up to speak, and when he said he was going to introduce
the second best senator after Rand.
Yeah, he said he was going to introduce and end the Fed bill. Got everybody on board. Everybody was cheering for the next 10 minutes. And then he said, so, yeah, you got to come vote for Trump. And he lost the crowd in an instant.
Did anyone speak about the fair tax at the convention?
Not that I know of.
No,
I mean, that's repeal the IRS. Like, that is line one of that bill. It is the most heavily researched piece of legislation in American history. It was co-authored by our Georgia's own Neil Bortz and John Linder, which was our state senator at the time. Neil Bortz was pushing it hard on his show, which, by the way, he's back on the radio. And
I think has a lifetime LP Georgia membership.
I think, yeah, exactly. And I wonder how that fizzled out, because that's something that could really gain traction. Because now I think there's 3 or 4 states that have implemented it on the state level. So we actually have hard market data for it working.
I'll say that there's been, I think, a radical shift in messaging on a lot of things. You know, at least talking to Dave Benner and hanging out with him, he was like, yo, every single person up there on that stage, well, maybe not ballet, I didn't quite catch that, but every single person on that stage basically had to take the position that all the 3-letter agencies need to be abolished. Like, it has become an untenable position. And Benner's like, in the past, there's always been someone who's like, well, we shouldn't right now. Because I think ballet may have been pushing like, well, the Department of Education is a stand. But like everyone else, I think had to explicitly be like, no, we're abolishing it. It's not, you know, they had to be like pure abolitionists on that.
Wow. Okay. Well, y'all, this is unexpected, but I guess we're going to go with 5 tonight because welcome, Mr. Alden Hardee.
Happy birthday.
He forgot he was
Even
off
paying
this week.
attention. Alden,
Hey,
what's up, dude?
not much. I'm enjoying some Lafroig Select here. My birthday scotch
Yeah.
is very good.
Dude, forgot it's your birthday this weekend, right? Or last weekend?
Today,
What? Today?
as in today, yeah.
No way.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yep. In my phone. You're not wrong, Alden. You're not wrong. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Ask
happy
somebody,
birthday,
ask
brother.
PolitiFact, yeah, if it's my birthday.
Happy birthday, my man.
I did yard work,
All right.
and
Okay.
then I got in the pool. So you win some, you lose some, you know.
That sounds
I just wanted to jump in, say hi, miss you guys,
Yeah.
rub in my scotch. It's very nice. It's not an 18 year though. That's crazy what Jake had last week, but
Man, that's Lafroig is so good though. I friggin' love me some Lafroig.
it's one of my favorites.
Nice. Well,
Can't
dude,
get
that's
enough of it.
awesome. So how old are you today?
104.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look
no,
it.
34.
That makes sense to me. That makes
I
sense.
feel 104.
Okay, 34.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Have you been keeping up with any of the Libertarian Party convention stuff from this past
I
weekend?
watched a little bit of it. I watched like Trump's, bid, and I was trying to tell because the audience was rambunctious. Like it was hard to tell like as a whole because I feel like there was sections. You guys were there, so you could tell me, but like it felt like there were sections that were cheering and there were sections that were like booing. It was very active. It was kind of hard to get a sense of like how he was received. But I watched clips. Oh, go ahead.
What was going on with that is that there were 2 very distinct groups of people that were in the room for that.
Okay.
There was the delegates to the Libertarian National Convention was about half, and then the other half was just general admission where you could just buy a ticket, and that was like almost all Trump supporters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, all the Trump supporters would be cheering, and then all the libertarians would be booing.
Okay.
And I was kind of stuck off in one of the corners where I couldn't really see the part of the room that was on the camera. And my initial reaction right after the speech, so if you could actually hear what I was saying on last week's live episode, despite all the background noise, I was actually wondering, could people hear the boos enough? Or did it just look like we were all a bunch of Trump supporters? And that question got answered for me very quickly because all the headlines where Trump is booed out of the room at Libertarian National Convention. And
just the headlines they wanted.
And the reaction to that almost became, from libertarians that I really like, it was almost too much. Like we made a fool out of ourselves by how much booing there was. And I don't think it got to quite to that level. Like, I felt like there were certainly people that would just not shut up ever. It's like, okay, we invited him, let the guy talk some. Right. But I felt like
way too much.
A lot of the time it was people's honest reaction. Like he would say something, and if like people did clap sometimes, and I feel like we needed to boo because it was when we needed to, because it was the only way that we could communicate to him that he said something that we
He's
didn't
missing
like.
the mark
and
here. Yeah.
And it was also the only way that we
Thanks,
could
Anna.
show the people who were watching the live stream. Like, he just said something, but he's actually bad on that. He's lying to you right now. And if you want an even better answer than what he's just said, take a look into our party. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it was mostly a good balance between booing for the appropriate reasons and not booing just because you have Trump derangement syndrome. Right. Like, I think the critique has been that our reaction was just what any leftist college student would react. It was just booing regardless of what he said because we can't stand to hear opinions we don't like. And I'm sure there was some of that, certainly from some sections.
Well, there was a lot of that from certain sections.
But I think that on the whole, it was a reasonably appropriate amount of booing at reasonably appropriate times.
If he's really like off the libertarian
I'd have preferred less, just because, well, that's the thing, is you just can't stop. Like, there are people in this party just, I think, because they hate Republicans. And
look, this is what I said on Saturday night after the speech, is we needed to show some more self-control, which is impossible for some LP members because they're all autistic dum-dums. But in order to drive home the points that are most important, booing at those points is the best possible solution, not booing the entirety of the speech and endlessly screaming "Free Ross." Like, I understand the importance of freeing Ross. He had already agreed to say that and to do that before the speech started. We didn't need the guy next to me to be screaming "Free Ross" for 5 minutes straight in my ear like a drunken moron. Like, it just wasn't necessary, but he did it. I almost got in a fight with this moron. He didn't apologize, but his friend who tried to fight me also, he apologized after. But, like,
interesting.
Self-control is so lacking within the Libertarian Party. It's wild. This goes back to the drinking thing. People cannot stop themselves from drinking at convention at 10 a.m. during business. Like, show some freaking self-control. You want to be the party of principle and the party of responsibility. You want all these people to have control over their own life. How about you exhibit some control over your life and do things the proper way and stop acting like a child? That is what needs to be done.
Be the proof, pun intended.
Yeah, I was like I said, I think I got drunk Wednesday night knowing I didn't really have anything to do Thursday, and then I don't know if I couldn't tell you if Dave Smith show I might have had a beer or two. But, like, beyond that, like, I didn't drink the whole weekend. I owed Zane beers, and then between not being able to find him and just me not drinking, because I was eating breakfast and lunch with my package, but, like, I was eating late night dinner at the in the hotel lobby, and I was on my feet for about 3 days there, just because I was running the floor on the MC side. So, like, I was between like my table, every single microphone, back of the room, talk to this, talk to that. Oh, free time, go talk to our parliamentarian we brought in, talk to this, he's in my ear, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to plan that, and it was fucking chaotic. And I
barely got to see Nick. I was looking forward to hanging out with you, man, and I just barely got to see you the entire convention.
Barely. I ended up getting stuck on that, and, like, for next convention I am going to ensure that, well, I got put on this floor team they put together this floor team rather late, and it started with, like, me on it because I was the bylaws guy, and then, like, we were making calls and someone had to make calls, and it basically came down to me making calls, and I had a pretty good read of the room on things, I think, so that kind of fell to me more because there was still some intention to try to shove stuff through. Gotcha. And I'm like, you don't have it. You got to do it differently. And I was calling it better than I think anyone else was.
It Yeah, it was a crazy convention, man. It was wild. But we're going to come back and talk about conventions some more. But Zane,
Can we not?
Prep it up, man. Here we go. All freaking right. Let me.
Oh, do you guys want me here for trivia or no?
Yeah. Now that you're here, let's do a four-person trivia, man. This is way more fun. I love it. I have the scoreboard up on my end. Zane, you don't have to worry about the scoreboard. I got you. You and Zach handle all the slides. Alden, were you doing trivia when I did it for my first time?
Yeah.
Last time? Okay. I guess
Yeah.
it was either Nick or Steven that wasn't here. So
I wasn't here last time, so I'm not used to Zane running trivia.
Yeah, I won last time.
Yeah,
he did.
Dude, with glory. Yeah, he did. It was a stomp down.
All right, y'all. Here we go.
All right. Zach, do you see it?
Let's see if Zach sees it, y'all. He does see it.
All right.
Bravo, Zach. Way to be a producer.
The categories are Alden's birthday, Scotch, and being 34.
These are weird numbers of questions.
8,
8,
6, 4.
6, and 4. Yeah, it's definitely different.
Well, I kept the same total number of questions that Jake had, because as much as I would like to make the entire show 2 hours of trivia, I know that I can't.
We should have a
Fair
spin-off show.
History libations.
All right.
Categories not even a
sports.
this day in history.
No. Categories are sports, literature, and science. For everybody out there who's listening or watching, you can participate in the comments. If you get a question right before we do, it counts to you. And if the audience ends up winning, none of y'all are losers anymore, which y'all are losers at this exact moment. But, if you win tonight, you're no longer a loser. Same with all of us.
So round 3 is all about Anthony Fauci.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. It's just Fauci's personal life. All right.
He is,
We're ready when you are, Zane.
Dr. True Science.
Dr. True
All right.
Science.
Round 1, sports. Question 1. What race, coming up on June 8th, is nicknamed the third jewel of the Triple Crown because it is traditionally held after the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness Stakes? Steven.
I don't know. I meant to withdraw that.
Nick.
Belmont. But
It is the
Zach also
Belmont
said it right
Stakes.
before you called on me too. So,
But Nick raised his hand before
Yeah.
Zach said it. So Nick
All
gets
right, question 2. Bethany Hamilton and Aaron Ralston were both subjects of feature centering around what unfortunate thing happening to them? Nick.
losing a limb.
Yeah, I'll give that to you. Losing an arm.
Losing an arm. Nice.
One had their arm bit off by a shark. The other cut their arm off to escape from out underneath a rock.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
believe he went to my college. I mean,
No, that was
I
James
there.
Franco that had to do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 Question 3. What player for the Denver Nuggets was recently fined $100,000 for throwing a heating pad onto the court?
I don't know a single player for the Denver
I don't
Nuggets
know
these days.
I don't know the
I
NBA.
used to. This is going to be an audience answer.
Wow.
Zach says
Jackie
Jackie
Chan. All right, we move on. Give it to him.
Hannah might know. Give Hannah about 5 more seconds. We'll see if she knows it. Although NBA is not really her thing.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray.
Hey, the audience does get it.
Nice.
Generic basketball name. Okay.
There we go. Generic basketball name.
All right. I'll know not to ask any more NBA questions anytime soon.
Ask chicken nugget questions.
Yeah, instead of Denver Nugget questions.
Haha.
Why was it so funny?
Question 4. Between the late 1960s and the late 1970s, the Minnesota Vikings defensive line had what nickname?
Oh.
Alden.
The horny bastards.
No.
Damn it.
Jake.
The Purple People Eaters.
The Purple People Eaters.
Is that what that's
Whoa.
is that what that's from, or is that like repurposed from something else?
It's a good question. I think
that's
it's
a
the
song from
purple-
the 70s.
well, it was
is
the
it?
Flying Purple People Eaters.
Yeah, the one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater
Yeah.
is the song.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Eat it, Hannah. Hannah got it after I did. Suck it.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Question 5. What score do you have after winning 3 points in tennis? Jake.
30.
No. Alden.
33.
Steven.
To love.
I really should have made this one answer only. No, it's not 45. Nick, do you've got a guess here?
Dude, I can't remember how tennis counting works because it's kind of retarded. But love is 0, right? So this has got to be like
Too bad that's not what I asked.
12.
It's not 12. Jake.
40.
40.
Why? Really?
Hannah had it.
Yeah, I had
How
it
does that
before.
work?
Hannah's
Yeah,
literally
so-
typing every multiple of 10.
So 0 is love, then it goes 15, then 30, then 40.
Who made
Why?
this system up?
Did a
Louis
Democrat make
Laurent.
tennis?
Hannah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I just didn't get to answer before you because everybody else was taking their sweet freaking time answering.
It's the dumbest counting system.
This is why I play pickleball, because 3 is 3.
Oh, you're one of
No,
those.
don't
people.
play pickleball.
Don't
You
play
freaking
pickleball.
loser. Loser. Zane.
Question 6. What team is represented by this logo? Nick.
The Philadelphia Flyers.
Ugh,
Philadelphia.
Yes.
dadgummit, Nick.
I think you spelled
Questions?
Flyers wrong in that too, but
I
It's
did.
flyers like pamphlets.
No.
Yeah, it's
Y.
fly with a Y.
Yeah.
The Fleers.
Question 7. In the latest example of idiotic policing, Scotty Scheffler was arrested while attempting to enter what golf club for the PGA Championship? It shares its name with a location in Norse mythology. Nick.
Valhalla.
It is the Valhalla Golf Club.
Good job, Nick.
He was arrested by Mike Termott. Oh, that's good.
That's so good. That is so good. All right. There's one more, right?
Yep. Question 8. What team lost the 2018 NFC Championship game to the Los Angeles Rams in part due to unpenalized pass interference? Steven.
49ers?
No. Jake.
Dallas Cowboys.
No, not the Cowboys.
Ah.
They didn't make it to the
Nick.
championship.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Nope. And not the Chiefs. Alden got anything here? Oh, the audience has a distinct
Oh.
advantage here because they can just spam all the teams, but it is the Saints.
But they also have a distinct disadvantage because they're about 10 to 12 seconds behind us. So
Yeah.
kind
They're
of
ahead of me, so
2018, they still had a little breezy in there, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. After one round, Nick has 4, audience has 2, I have 2, Alden has 0, Steven has 0.
I have
So,
4. I'm
I
winning
have love.
What,
No, you
Alden?
have 0. This is America.
You have love.
I have love,
You have
yeah.
love.
I have
I have-
scotch. I
Do
win.
I have 40? Am I at 40 if that's the case? I don't know how.
No,
65.
you've already won if we're playing tennis.
Oh, sweet.
All right. Round 2 is literature. Question 1. What name is given to works such as the books of Maccabees, the books of Esdras, and Psalm 151, which are accepted as biblical canon by some Christian denominations but not others? Stephen.
The Apocrypha?
It is the Apocrypha.
Nice.
Wow. Audience got it right behind them, too.
Oh, yeah.
I figured that out.
Is that really
Yeah,
talking
you-
about like?
You had me at Maccabee.
Is that really talking about like Nephilim and giants and shit?
That's Enoch.
That's
Oh, okay.
generally Enoch, yeah.
Yeah. Also in the Apocrypha, I think.
So it is.
And
Part
these
of
are-
it. Never mind. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't list every apocryphal book in that question, otherwise we'd be here a while. But yes, and these
Bible
are worth 2,
trivia.
by the way, Jake.
What'd you
All
say?
right, these questions are worth 2, by the way.
Yep. Steven's caught up to me.
All right, question 2. What phrase has been removed from this literary quote? What phrase has been removed from the beginning of this literary quote? It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. Nick.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
That's right.
The introduction to A Tale of Two Cities.
Yes.
Yep.
The man that got paid by the word. So everything drags on and on.
Is
Not
that true? He
sentences
got
that
paid
go
by
an
the word?
entire page. Yeah, he got paid by the word.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. His writing is really annoying to read. I friggin'
Do
hate it.
U.S. bills do you get paid by the word to write bills? Because that would make more sense now.
No, you get paid by the word that's included in the acronym of the bill.
You get paid bills to write the words.
There you go.
All right, question 3. In John Milton's Paradise Lost, what is the name of the capital of hell? I do have a hint, but usually people at least provide one answer before we get there.
I'm going to go with, I think Zach's got it right.
Oh.
I can tell you that's right because I was just there. Steven.
Philadelphia.
No.
Pretty good
Wait,
guess.
who was next? Alden?
Orlando.
No.
Washington D.C. is the best joke. That's better.
All right. Your
Hannah
hint-
guesses pandemonium.
Oh, audience gets it.
Nicely done.
Pandemonium.
Hannah's killing it.
Hannah is crushing it. She was also a teacher, and she still is a tutor.
She farts.
A Dutch aunt.
Touching. Oh man.
All right.
Sorry.
I'm never sure. Now that I'm the host, I'm never sure when to try to cut the banter off versus when to just let it rip.
Zane, always cut it off, man. Always cut it off. Just move us
Oh, my
along.
God.
We're not trying to do trivia for 45 minutes.
But Let It Rip is another beautiful addition to this fart pun train that we're on right now. Like,
Point of order. That was not dilatory.
I'm sorry.
right.
Moving on.
Question
4.
The Scottish poet Robert Burns called what food item "Great Chieftain o' the Puddin' Race" in one of his poems? Stephen.
God.
Haggis.
Haggis.
No way, Steve.
Should have just when I heard Scottish, I should have just
Yeah, I
guessed.
heard
Like,
Scottish
Yeah, I
pudding.
should've
It was game over.
guessed.
Yeah.
damn it. Yeah. Should have guessed.
Question 5. The title of what 1949 Arthur Miller play spoils the fact that Willie Loman does not make it to the end alive? Alden.
The Death of a Salesman.
Death of a Salesman.
I was first. Give me a friggin' break. This is
It's my
BS.
birthday though,
Hold on
so
here.
this is
and I'm not
BS.
gonna win at this point.
No, everybody still has a chance.
Really? Oh, that's right, because the yeah.
All right, this is a a number question, so one answer per each. Although, unlike Jake's number questions, you could maybe actually know the answer to this one.
How many nipples do I have? It's
How
an odd
many-
number.
All right. According to Dr. Seuss, how many hats did Bartholomew Cubbins have?
Who the hell is that?
Steven.
7.
Okay. Jake.
13.
Okay. Nick.
Is this Price is Right rules or
No,
just-
No.
it's closest.
I'm gonna go with. We have 7 and we have 13. I'm gonna go with 11.
All right. Audience also says 7. Audience says 33. Okay. Alden.
Let's go 40, the same as the tennis question.
All right. Alden wins because the story is the 500 hats of Bartholomew.
I did not read that one. But...
Yeah, well, Dr. Seuss was like a Nazi sympathizer or something anyway, right?
Is that right? I
Some
don't know
say.
about that.
What was
Or
comic?
Are
Wait,
green
no.
eggs a dark metaphor that I didn't know about? Like,
No, I don't think that. I think I remember this now. It's not that he was a Nazi sympathizer. People will accuse him of being anti-Japanese because of all of the cartoons he
That's
drew
what
in
it
favor
was.
of U.S. involvement in World
That's
War II.
what it was, and that's in my mind got conflated with Nazi sympathizer. He's not Henry Ford.
Round 3.
Hang on,
Science.
scoreboard update. Nick has 6. Alden, Steven, and audience have 4, and I have 2. So it's still anybody's game.
Shoes, I gotta win this when Zane's not playing.
Question 1. 3 points each. What is this a picture of? Alden.
a black hole.
Indeed.
I
Oh,
was gonna say a butthole.
A butthole. That's what I
shout
said.
out to Soundgarden for us all
After
knowing what
Taco
that is.
Bell, yeah.
The Super Unknown album, yeah.
Yeah.
Zach said the Eye of Sauron.
The brown eye of Sauron, yeah.
Question 2. This has 3 answers, so you'll get 1 point per correct answer. Soil texture classification is based on the percentages of what 3 materials in a soil sample? Alden.
Water, silica, and humus.
All of those are wrong.
Yes.
Steve, was Steve's hand up or was next Nick?
Steve, then
my
Nick,
hand's
then
up.
me.
Okay. Steve.
He probably knows this.
Sand, clay, and loam.
You got 2 out of 3. Loam is wrong, but clay
Wait,
is.
by the way,
I was gonna say the exact same things you did.
is sand right? Because silica and sand are like the same thing as far as what I was going with.
Not in this context.
Really?
Yeah. Talk to a dirt
Okay.
hippie.
All right.
So
That's what I call geotex.
And hummus is loam, but whatever.
audience gets the
Audience
last
says
one. It's silt.
Dang it.
So loam
I figured
refers
that
to
I figured
So-
that the guy who does whatever you do,
Surveying.
I can't think of the word. Surveying would know this.
Yeah.
so loam refers to soil that has about
Organic
equal
matter.
quantities of all 3 of these
Oh,
materials.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
If you go look up the soil texture classification triangle, that's
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like
There's a whole lot of
something
Coweta County that's Pacolet type, which is a sandy loam, which means it
Oh,
needs
yeah.
compaction very well.
Well, yo, whoever gets this question right gets it. Yeah, I can't win.
I thought there
well,
was
there are
4
still 2
questions this
questions left because round 3 now has 4 questions.
Oh, there's 2
Oh.
questions. Right.
Ooh.
My bad.
Forgot about that.
Question 3. Formally defined as the study of geometric properties and spatial relations unaffected by the continuous change of shape or size of figures, What branch of mathematics is concerned with questions like how many holes does a straw have? Alden?
Trigonometry.
No. Nick?
Fractal geometry.
Steven?
Hydrology.
No. Jake?
I was going to say geometry.
No. This is a hard one, but I love the internet's obsession over how many holes does a straw have. So, Steven?
Calculus?
No. Nick?
Fuzzy math.
Alden?
Dimensionology.
I have a feeling this is not going anywhere.
Fringe science.
Don't repeat the question. It takes too long.
Topology.
Topology.
I would not have gotten that.
Yeah, I thought that was just like a type of logic. I didn't think that was math.
Topo, like elevation.
I think the root is something similar to that.
Like a topo in surveying is like a topo line, like is the elevation line or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I repeat my previous statement.
Oh, like
everybody
hole
can
of
win
a straw,
except me.
like extended. Oh, I actually kind of get it now. Just
So
based
this
on
is
that.
winner takes all on this question.
Winner takes all minus Jake.
Winner takes
right.
Jake.
Somebody
I'm
should
still
be able
going
to
for
get
it,
this.
Hey, Jake, let's put our points together and beat everybody right now.
Let's do a backroom deal, man.
You can't trade your sheep at this point in the game.
This episode of Mythbusters attempted to recreate the so-called death ray of what ancient engineer? Nick.
Archimedes.
Archimedes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
How
knew as soon as
about
I saw the
that?
picture, I'm like, I remember what this is.
Oh, freaking right, y'all. How about that? Mr.
was great.
Zane
Second
Placie.
win of the
running
year out of like 3 times playing.
Nick ended up winning. He had 9. Alden had 7. Steven had 6. Audience had 5, and I had 2.
But
Once
in tennis,
again-
I had like 80, right?
Yeah, in tennis, you won like 6 times. But I've proven yet again that I'm the dumbest, and I never should have been playing trivia to begin with. That's why I was running. it.
Volunteered to host.
So in side stories,
No.
I kind of taught the dog a new trick last night.
What's the
Kinda.
trick?
Well, all I did was I picked her up and put her
Is that
on
a
the edge of
euphemism?
the bed. I put her on the
Okay.
bed, and then she's been up there before, and but this time instead of hopping down, she got comfy up there. Then I chased her down, and she's not one for jumping, but she turned around and jumped right back up. And then this morning, I took her out. I went in the shower. I come out. She's up on the bed. I take her outside. She comes running back in, up on the bed. I get home from work, up on the bed.
So now it's her
So
favorite spot.
I picked her up one time last night, and it's happened before, but I put her on the bed last night, and now that's where she keeps going.
This sounded like the build
what
of a
they do.
good joke or something, you know?
No, it's just completely odd because she's never done it before, and she's been up there before, but all of a sudden I put her up there last night, and she has decided that the bed is now hers.
Grumpy says, please don't say anything about peanut butter.
Yeah, see, that would fit into the joke structure that I thought of.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to leave you guys. I'm going to go hang out with my lady on my birthday and drink even more scotch. So
All right, brother.
it was fun to
Thanks
just,
For popping in, man.
yeah,
Happy
man, it was fun
birthday.
to just almost do well at trivia, but that's okay. Cheers, guys.
Second place isn't bad. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, y'all. We can keep talking. No, we're going to keep talking about the LP convention. Sorry, y'all. Most of this episode is going to be about the LP convention because I don't really care about Trump's guilty verdict. Who gives a crap? It's going to be fixed on appeal. He's going to win the election. It doesn't really matter. So let's go to what Maj Touré had to say after the Trump speech.
Maj, what do you think of the speech? Yeah?
I think that regardless of whether he's lying or not,
Doesn't matter. His following has been introduced to liberty ideas that will expand their thought process. That's the law. I've been saying this the whole weekend. The law of exposure. Those followers that he has have now been exposed to Ross, have now been exposed to insert whatever, all of the liberty ideas. He's up there saying, whether it's true or not, he's up there saying, hey, I'm Donald Trump. I'm actually kind of a libertarian.
Yeah.
His followers are gonna, who's Ross? Who's Ross? Who's that? Why are all those people in there screaming free Ross?
Yes.
His followers are gonna say, who is libertarian? I never heard of this person.
Yeah.
And then they'll go type in who is libertarian, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. My point in saying that is they're that shifted in the Overton window because of the person that they follow is saying things, and they have to come here. Now, will libertarians vote for him? Has he turned over this following in this room? We don't know.
Yeah.
We have no idea. We don't know. And it's not for them to decide. It's for his following that he's speaking to, that he's exposed new ideas to, that he needs our movement in order to come and communicate with. The Overton window has shifted.
Yeah. Were you happy with the results for the chair getting reelected today?
Absolutely.
Yes. I thought it was a genius idea.
These are historic things that have never happened before, and Angela has done them.
Yeah.
With grace, dignity, strength, while nursing. So beautiful.
Definitely.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you, Maj.
Thank you.
You have a good day.
So there's Maj, restating what a lot of us have been saying, which is that Trump coming to speak convention, RFK, Vivek, is a good thing for liberty. It's a good thing for freedom. And yeah, the reelection of Angela McArdle is a massive victory. She absolutely crushed it. For those who don't know, during business on, was it Friday or Saturday? I can't remember, but once again, a very drunk idiot got to the mic and said some very crass things to Angela over the mic in front of everybody on national TV. And she handled it like an absolute pro. Just
mostly because that dude got assaulted.
That dude immediately got assaulted by somebody in the crowd, which honestly, he deserved it. He deserved it. What he said
I absolutely know who it is, and I'm not telling.
Good.
I know who it is. I love the dude, and I'm not telling anyone who it is.
What, the guy who assaulted him, or the guy who did it?
Yeah. Well, I know who was who, but yeah, I was a sergeant at arms, and the second that dude, I heard him start talking, I started moving that way because I was going to throw him off the mic because that's completely out of order.
Yep.
So I was going to toss him off the mic, and then someone from somewhere that I know and know quite decently well handled it himself.
Yes, he did.
And then he walked off the floor, and I was making jokes with him the rest of the time because, people were like, "Who was it?" And I'm like, "Oh, I wondered." I came over here as soon as I could. I saw something happen. I don't know who was what. I know exactly what happened, but
yeah. Well, good on him. Honestly, completely inappropriate, very uncalled for, horrendous language to use towards somebody who is just doing their job and doing it very well. So, yeah, she ran a fantastic convention. She's a friggin' machine. It's kind of unbelievable. It's kind of unbelievable what she can do when there's thousands of people trying to get her attention and throw us off course and make dilatory, time-wasting remarks, and she just shuts it down, and we move on and we keep on track. She's a very impressive leader, and very, very proud and happy that she got reelected as the LNC chair.
I love Angela, and of course voted for her in all rounds and support her completely. But she messed things up big time to start. She messed things up big time to start at the beginning, where we had to appeal the ruling of the chair, and I had told everyone, we are not going to appeal Angela because if she's calling something out of order, it's out of order. But she was told bad stuff and ruled something out of order that shouldn't have been. And I couldn't rally the vote in the time to get that fixed. And then that's what really, really led to that giant credentials battle, which had to happen because, unfortunately, people, you can't, by a majority, vote to ignore your bylaws. Because if you do, you're still invalid, even if you go, well, we voted by a majority to not do the 7/8 thing, so we're all good. And
Gotcha.
yeah, you can't do that. And there were states that were blatantly trying to violate that. And you know what that would do? That would invalidate our presidential election, probably our internal elections, and probably destroy everything. So as much as people
probably would have been a better outcome than what actually happened next.
If we hadn't generally gotten rid of it, yeah, there'd be lawsuits floating around right now. I think in the Chase Rechtenwald round, was it more than that? There was 27 delegates from Michigan. We didn't, that are invalid still that we didn't fix.
Gotcha.
I think
we don't have to dwell
I think
on
the vote was slightly more than that, so it probably didn't matter there. If it did, that's up in the air. But had it been the 80 or so that they were improperly seated to start with, yeah, there'd be lawsuits flying this morning.
Yeah,
like there'd have been lawsuits on Monday, Tuesday morning already going. So, we did what we had to do. I didn't want to seat people who did it wrong because I would rather people do it right rather than trying to fuck everything up. But
fair. Well, for those who don't know, the result of our convention was that Chase Oliver won the presidential nomination for our party. And in a massive twist that happened right at the end, Mike Termott is going to be his vice presidential running mate. So it's Joe Jorgensen 2.0
worse
ish. It might actually be worse. Yeah, it was not the results that I or anybody else of my ilk were hoping for. But to be fair, the presidential candidates that we had to choose from were all lackluster. I didn't really want to vote for any of them.
That is true.
And it was an unfortunate year for the LP to have to vote on a presidential candidate. So, I don't know, Stephen. What are your thoughts on who got chosen?
Overall, he's still better than the other two options. He definitely checks off more of my boxes than the other guys. So, it's what I've done before. My least favorite parts of your platform. You need congressional approval for that stuff. That's not something you can unilaterally do as a president. So, that was one thing I was real proud of Austin Peterson for doing when he was running. They would ask him questions. Hey, what's your stance on this? And he's like, not my job. That's not what I'm applying for.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but what's your stance on it? He's like, why does it matter? That's not the job I'm applying for.
Okay.
So, Chase isn't coming out and saying that, but it's just, the parts of his plank that, you go on his side with, you go on his platform, the parts of that I wholeheartedly disagree with, he can't do those. Mm-hmm. If he won the presidency, he can't do that. So it's like, that's a total non-starter for me. Let's focus on the things that the president does have the power to do, and Chase is solid on those.
Well, yeah. So I agree with you in the world where we have a chance of getting elected. The difference here is that Chase will not be in the White House next January, period. End of story. And so the only thing that I want out of the two primary things I want are somebody who's a good example and who can spread the message of liberty without embarrassing the ever-living crap out of the LP. And he can do some of that very well. Okay. When he's just speaking and not answering a bunch of questions, if he's just giving a speech, he does pretty well. He's actually very convincing. He puts out most of the liberty values that I ascribe to. But when people start asking him questions or dig up his Twitter past, and not even deep past, very recent, talking about how he doesn't support Ron Paul, him being happy wearing masks, just a whole bunch of things. We're going to get to a couple of them here in a minute, but I have some massive problems with Chase Oliver being
our social conservatives get him on a podcast and grill him on a single issue for 16 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's in the broader sense, though. I mean, the biggest thing, he's perfectly fine. I see the argument. Well, everyone says their biggest issue is war and peace and everything, right? And Chase is as good as they come on that.
There you go.
Everyone else. But in some ways, that's kind of the bare minimum standard. Like, yeah, it's the most important, because if you can't agree to this, then what are you doing here?
Yeah. If you can't agree to that, then we pull your card, right?
Then there are the more nuanced issues that get into the right-left culture war. And as much as Chase throughout his campaign, especially when he was, and I remember at the PA debate, he was like, I don't know why everyone says I'm woke. I'm perfectly libertarian, just like everyone else. I mean, maybe it's because I was a Democrat at one point, but the fact is, language matters, and there's very specific cues in someone's language that kind of hint to someone's worldview. So when Chase gets up there and refers to himself as, well, I'm LGBTQ, and it's like, you're gay. Like, when you group it in with that, that's a very subtle language hint on where you see yourself and where you see your group, rather than saying, hey, this is what I am. It's like, well, no, I'm a part of this group. And then that LGBTQ has a very specific connotation in a lot of people's minds of what that means.
It's a tribal identity politically.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then, or, him and Officer VP were outside the White House, I guess, taking a picture. And what was it? Hate. They had a hate has no whatever here.
Hate won't make America great.
Yeah, hate won't make America great. And automatically, the first message that the campaign's putting out is, we're against hate, which is exactly a progressive talking point, right? It's that flowery,
it means nothing.
Virtue signally bullshit that it doesn't mean anything. It's but it signals to one side or the other, right? So everything you do, one way or the other, hate's bad, okay, but like, hate's a very general thing. And officer vice president was already saying the same thing about prejudice and this and that, based off of, I guess, the hot mic thing, and had to be called out that, like, prejudice is something that, we prejudge things all the time, and it's not always this or that. Like, so that I think what's failed to be what he fails to grasp is that is whether he claims or not, and what his policies are, he presents a very, very left wing, aligned with the same language that the crazy wokes use.
Yeah,
and maybe he's toned that down, and I think he has toned down a lot in the past maybe 2 years, 3 years, maybe since his Senate campaign, he's toned down a lot of that.
Yeah,
but it's out there, and the language is still there, and that's what really matters. And when you're talking about needing to represent to a broader culture, and you're showing not only that language, but there was one post that was out there where he claimed, where it was like, it's just a reminder card, like your dentist gives you. It's not a, that the vaccine card is not a vaccine passport. And it's like, you were wrong there too. So it's this going along with the mainstream narrative until you're forced to reckon with the fact that everyone you were mocking was right, and you were completely wrong for buying into the bullshit, and then couching it in the same terms that the corporate press and the progressive left use.
Yeah. So I've been trying to be optimistic about Chase's campaign. Obviously he was not who I wanted, but because I stay off Twitter mostly, I had only really seen him talk, like, I was really only judging him based off the in-person times that I had interacted with him and seen him talk. And when he's talking about stuff that I agree with, which, to be fair, is a lot of the time. I think that he actually is a really good communicator and pretty convincing, just like you said. And so I think that compared to that, I think it's going to be, I think that aspect is better than Jo Jorgensen's 2020 campaign, just because she was boring. At least Chase isn't boring.
Yeah,
so,
he at least has some flair.
Right. So I've had been hopeful, and I'm still trying to be hopeful that if Chase really means it when he says that he's going to run a unity campaign, and he's been toning down the woke stuff, and hopefully he will, then maybe he can get, the libertarian message out there in a way. Like, I ultimately, in the last round of voting, when it came down between Chase and Noda, I voted for Chase because I felt like I wanted the parts of his message that I agreed with to be out there in the world, more than I did not want the parts of his message that I don't like not to be out there in the world, because he's very good on war, he's very good on other sundry libertarian issues, but Nick is completely right in his entire critique, where the issue with Chase has been that he accepts all of the regime's premises. But then, at the last second, he'll be like, well, I'm still libertarian because I don't want to force anybody to do anything. But, if you're going along with, it being good pushing, trans surgery on kids, and it's good to be wearing masks and socially distancing long after it was obvious to people that were looking at the science that those are completely unnecessary things to be doing. When you buy into the regime's propaganda to that extent, it becomes hard for people that, on the conservative worldview side, not necessarily even political, it becomes hard for those people to take you seriously. And what I was hoping, what I was hoping for,
were wrong. The conspiracy theorists were right. Everyone he denounced was right, and the regime propaganda was wrong.
So what I was hoping for was that, if he did tone down all of that stuff, then maybe it just wouldn't come up. We could start with a blank slate after his nomination, and he could still get his message out there. And that was kind of what I was thinking Sunday night, right after the convention was over. But then even Monday morning, and especially over the past couple of days, what has really surprised me is all of the right-wing media that has been pouncing on, bringing all this stuff up. And I know my dad sent me a link to a Tim Pool video where he was trying to clown on Chase. There are all these, in a weird way, it's like we're getting tons of media attention for Chase from all of the conservatives that are trying to, clown on him for how woke and progressive he is. So
that does feel like a kind of a unified hit to me. Like, it does not feel natural that all that came out just right there.
It was so immediate. It was so immediate. Where was any of this?
Stuff that we had been trying to get out, and guys, this is not who we want representing us. Beforehand, everything that was known was silent. And the second it turned, and he got the nomination, boom, all over the place. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's just the right-wing media caught on because they're like, oh, this is the best thing for the right now, because there's a 0% chance Chase pulls anything from Donald Trump supporters, because he comes off as just not aligned in anything right there. Or what?
And what are the odds Trump didn't coordinate that?
It's very possible.
You go there, you declare yourself a libertarian, you adopt a couple of their planks to make them happy, and then you plant your people in just long enough to listen to who their candidate is and have the snipe campaign.
Oh, I know him. I know the RFK campaign was jumping as soon as they saw that. The Trump campaign, I'm sure, was right there ready. They knew. I mean, at least I know the RFK campaign knew, and I'm sure the Trump campaign knew also, and they had their targets on who would we prefer and who would we who would we not prefer, and I'm sure they preferred that way. And I wanted to bring
kudos to Chase for attitude, okay? Because when he went up against Senator Warnock, he was up against $100 million machine. Now he's up against a $10 billion machine in going against Trump and RFK and Biden. That is probably even bigger than that. It's probably $100 billion, honestly. It's a presidential election. And you got to assume 10% of that is towards sniping. So, I mean, you put out a $1 billion or $10 billion propaganda machine against this guy when his own half his own party doesn't even like him. Kudos to him for just staying on message, man. And, and if you want to spin things positively, talking about, the woke language, and he's using, certain keywords and the NLP that progressives are used to resonating with. Hey, a lot of those folks are younger kids, right? Like, if there's anybody that's going to be mobile, that's going to have a shift toward liberty, because hell, he did it himself, right? The man voted for Obama twice. He was a Democrat, and he got duped, and he admitted it, and he came to the light. So if he's using the same language that attracted him to follow his path, you have to assume that there's enough people that listen to the message, and if you have a human soul, liberty will resonate with it. And if he's using the right language that these folks are tuned into all the time, then he could bring a younger culture, a mobile, active voting bloc into the fold.
So I really hope that that's true. But I think the problem with that line of thinking is that embedded in all of the assumptions that undergird the language that you use when you're being a progressive, all of those assumptions are highly anti-liberty. All of the assumptions are we need to base everything around group identity, group action. There's kind of this hierarchy of oppression, and we need state action to fix that. So kudos
we
to
must
Chase
be actively anti-racist.
It's not enough to be passively libertarian. We must be actively anti-progressive.
There we go.
So I'm glad that Chase personally became a libertarian. But if your idea is that you're going to use woke language to make people become libertarian, I think the more likely response is that they'll just stay being woke, because that's the language that's being used. And even compared to 10 years ago, or however long ago it was that Chase became libertarian, the woke language is just so much worse now than it is then, that I think that strategy is probably even less likely to succeed. And last thing I'll say on this is that, because the conservative press has dragged out all of these skeletons in Chase's closet, that I didn't want to come out, because I want Chase to be able to focus a campaign on messaging that most libertarians would find attractive. So I was hoping that it wouldn't come out. It did. And the consequence of all of that coming out is that me trying to convince, any conservatives that I know, which are most of the people that I know, it will be a complete non-starter for me to try to convince them to vote for Chase, because of all this stuff that they're going to have heard about from their own sources. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to support Chase because of that, but I just know there's not even any point in bringing it up because of all this stuff that he has as baggage.
Yeah, 100%. So, half this stuff is a non-starter for most of my friends.
And I wanted to bring up real quick, going back to his intention of trying to be a unifying force, which is once again flowery language that doesn't really mean much, right? So anytime he was called out, right? So anytime he was called out on the trail for his prior actions, right? And we know these actions. Who was there? I don't know if Zane was there. I don't think Zane was there. Jake, were you there the first time we did a Mises that I went to a Mises Caucus meetup? We were at the brewery.
Yeah, I was there.
And without bringing up names, we were told by someone who was new to the party that Chase had told this person that the Mises Caucus was a bunch of horrible racists and bigots, and that person should avoid us, right? And what did that person find out about us?
That we weren't.
You're exactly that.
Right. So not only had he publicly gone out plenty of times and condemned people he disagreed with as being racists and bigots, and he did it after Reno, and he did this and he did that, but he was going to new members of the party who weren't brought up in any of this stuff, who weren't involved in it, and immediately trying to poison that there, and saying, hey, these people are horrible, you should avoid them. And that person, to their credit, came up and met us and is a really cool person, and found out that we were pretty chill, and so everything worked out well. But there was no accountability from him on any of that. There was no apologies. Like, anytime it was brought up on the campaign trail, I don't want to talk about the past, I'm on about now. And
look,
it would go a long way. It would go a long, long way to blatantly come out and say, hey, I own what I did right then. I own that I said that stuff. I don't mean it. I apologize. And then maybe you have a chance at unifying. But right now,
I would reconsider.
I could reconsider on that, because it shows some growth. But right now, it's just, I'm going to ignore what I did in the past and move on to it. And
100%. And
look,
he said that, okay? He put this out in a tweet after Reno. I guess I have to say this now. The National Libertarian Party does not speak for me, and unless I retweet, I do not at all endorse them. There's no tent big enough for myself, my friends, and my family to be alongside racists and bigots. Lou Rockwell and his work is bigoted tripe. So he said this about Mises folks within the party. And very much collectivizing the whole Mises group, even though I would say 98% of us are nothing of what he espoused. He also said during convention that he wanted a unity ticket, but then proceeded to choose Mike Permott, who nobody in the MC actually wanted or actually really likes. He doesn't actually want a unity ticket. He wanted the person who could get him the most votes to become the presidential nominee. That's all he wanted. Had
he wanted a unity ticket, he'd have let Clint on there. He would have let what happened happen rather than cutting a deal.
That's exactly right. Look, this is what I've been trying to say. A tweet that I put out, which was maybe my biggest tweet of all time, which is wild. For me, a big tweet is like 200 people saw it. 13,000 people saw this tweet.
Oh, I saw you post that one like 2 minutes afterward, and I was like, "Ooh, that's
I have a certain tweet that from an account that's not under my name went pretty damn viral today.
People were very obsessed with my stating backroom deal meaning something. But what's hilarious is Brad Binkley caught Chase, Mike Termott, Larry Sharp, and Lars Mapstead in the back of the room figuring out how to get the right amount of votes. Okay. So they were literally in the back of the room trying to figure this out, off the floor, not on the floor, behind some columns, off by themselves. And Binkley confronted them, and they all dispersed. And
we needed him on here to give that full story then. Fuck.
Yeah, we'll have him on again soon. He tried to have me on last night, but I was up. I had no reception. But yeah, people really focused on that backroom deal thing. The thing I was most angry about was that he didn't just let the voters decide. He told Mike Termott to make the announcement during balloting. Some people had already voted, some people hadn't. It was the most disrespectful and egregious attempt at trying to sway an election that I'd seen within the LP. During my time with the LP. So
and then people tried to get their ballots back, like, oh, I got to change it to go with him, because they were like, no, once the ballot's submitted, it's submitted, because people tried to
and so
back.
Look, Nick, you mentioned this. I will say it too. I started losing respect the moment Termott came on this show and kept saying that he thinks that he has a chance to be in the White House in January.
There were two things when he was on the show that really tipped me off. It was when I was like, look, let's be honest. Our presidential candidate's not going to win. He's like, no, I think there's a way. And I'm like, oh God. And then I asked, I'm like, what do you plan on doing now between now and the convention to build up your own personal brand and identity
There we go.
to reach people outside and bring them in? And he was like, after the convention, that's a whole nother story. Right now, I'm focused internal. And it's like, and it was like, well, what use are you then? Like you're just this internal operative, and you're the job. Yeah. At least from my perspective and what it's supposed to be is pure outreach, because anyone who's honest knows we're not going to win, right? And that's the Mises Caucus thing, right? The Ron Paul revolution, the whole reach the remnant, is we got to go out and we got to find the people who agree with us and say, hey, no, there's a home for this. And yeah, we're not going to win this, but we have a strategy, and that means building the liberty locally versus this. Well, let's just run a president and then a governor and stuff like that every couple of years, and we'll spend a bunch of time getting petition signatures and spend a bunch of money and this and that, and we'll call ourselves a political party, but really it's a social club that does a couple things here and there.
Yeah,
and
not to mention Termott, according to multiple people, had said that he would throw his endorsement behind Rec for 4 rounds leading up until that final round.
I have been told that he had been saying that for months. Like that's not something that like, oh, he said that there. Like I had been told that was in the discussions back in March or February.
Yeah.
Like, I think Rec had also reciprocated and been like, well, if I'm out before you, I'll throw it to you, because they had been supposedly.
That would make sense.
And honestly, like, and in my mind, knowing how this is and the way Rec reacted on that, like, I have no doubt in my mind, had Rec gone out before him, that he would have endorsed him, and there wouldn't have been a shady backroom deal.
Yeah. To be fair, like I'm not going to sit here and say that Rec losing was all because there was some backroom deal. Rec also ruined it for himself. The night before, being on stage while high is a terrible choice. If you're trying to represent the party on a national stage, saying insane things and just freakishly, bizarrely walking off stage in the weirdest possible manner is not the way to win people's confidence. And so he had already hurt himself. It seemed to be beyond repair. And so it wasn't just that Chase and Mike especially became snakes during that convention, but it was, Rick kind of sabotaged himself as well. So it's just a combination of all those things that happened, and it's just very unfortunate. Let's put up the malice tweet, Zach, because I think that pretty much sums it up perfectly. Congratulations to Comic Dave Smith. The Libertarian Party is now officially part of the problem. I thought that was a freaking great tweet.
Oh man! Well, and then if we see Rechtenwald on Hotboxing with Mike coming up soon to, launch a new gummy line, Wreck Your Wad.
Wreck Your Wad. That's so.
Really capitalize on that.
Let's go to the tweet about real Donald Trump from Chase Oliver as well. Yeah, just remind y'all. Chase Oliver said when Trump got banned, glad you're banned, sorry not sorry, accountability, 25th Amendment now. So he doesn't actually believe in freedom of speech. If he's excited about the government / Twitter banning of Donald Trump, he doesn't actually believe in he's not a free speech absolutist.
So this goes back to.
Hang on, Zane. Let's Stephen go first.
I've seen a point along that lines too. We should be calling for Hunter Biden to totally get off on everything but his corruption charges, right? So like the crack whores and the crack and the guns and like, all of those things there's no victim. It's all consensual adult stuff, right?
I completely agree.
I demand they change the law so he gets off.
There we go.
No, I'm fine with I'm fine with it, because I'm fine with there's no crime there, but when his daddy's the one who put the law on the books and prosecuted.
Well, I mean the 10% for the big guy is not just that's a crime.
Yeah, that one is, but the gun while being in actively using narcotics, I generally don't care on that. It's just when your daddy's part of the one who wrote that law and it's been used to destroy how many countless people's lives, you get what you have coming to you until that law is changed.
Yeah.
And this is the most egregious one I think he's ever put out there. I reject Ron Paul, and I'm sorry, not sorry about it. The little respect I have for him after seeing this tweet is astounding.
That went quite viral.
Yeah. So many people picked that up today. It was crazy. And it was from 2020. It's not like it was like 2000. It was not like back when he was a Democrat. It was while he was a libertarian.
Yeah.
So it's not okay for me. So,
right.
Yeah, go ahead, Zane.
So all of this stuff, it's just, and it kind of gets into what the Libertarian Party is, which it's founded on a philosophy of government only, which is government is not legitimate and doesn't work. But because of that, you can kind of be culturally left-wing or culturally right-wing and believe the core libertarian principle, if that's how you want to define it. Which means that the Libertarian Party, it seems to me, has been for a long time and probably will continue to be a very uneasy alliance between these two factions of people.
Yeah.
Because just because you think the government is bad or illegitimate or whatever does not fully inform your worldview about how you should, like, what ends for society you're really seeking.
Correct.
Because you can believe that and want kind of left-wing ends or right-wing ends. And so, yeah, Brian, that comment is very true. So the fact that Chase is out there tweeting all of this very culturally left stuff, none of it is technically not libertarian, but it's just so far removed from what the people that I try to appeal to care about, because, I definitely came in from the right wing, and I would say that culturally I'm still very conservative. And, I and many other cultural conservatives, when you call people a bigot or you just fall for, the government propaganda on COVID or whatever, even if you're not violating any libertarian principle, even if you're not advocating for coercion, you're still not really recognizing the issues that we think are the most important. So what I'm most disappointed in about the result of who we nominated was that it does seem like a big missed opportunity to have a libertarian nominee that many people are not going to take seriously because he's not really striking the root of the issue.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big thing that's missed there. It's going to be, the general, there's the general, principles, and that's generally there. It's just, I don't think it's enough, especially now. I mean, the presidential candidate is supposed to really represent, at least in my mind, represent like the radical core of what there is to offer, and then things go down from there. But if you're not speaking the bold, complete truth to people, you're kind of feeding them this bullshit, like the socially liberal and fiscally conservative stuff, right? Like that's just the play that, oh no, we're like you guys, it's just we're everything that you hate about the other side. Right. So that's a terrible marketing message, because no one's buying that. Like, yeah, you liberals who want to spend money, well, we agree with you on stuff, but we don't want to spend the money. And then you conservatives, well, all the things that you don't like because it's it's this and that behavior, we're for that. And it's so that's kind of the way that I really found, I think was an extremely cringy way to ever call it. I think it's an incredibly inaccurate way. I think it goes to some of the people like, and this is just here because I just emptied out my bag, but this guy who is now the new LNC vice chair, who on some of the town halls leading up said that libertarianism is a moderate philosophy, not a radical philosophy where, we're supposed to be standing up and saying the actual truth. It's supposed to be playing to the middle between these two sides and going, no, we kind of all agree, so you guys should come here. And just
Rutherford is the worst, man. He looks like a cartoon
has
character.
Life insurance is what you're saying.
Yeah, dude.
So
I can't believe he got elected.
The longer, the Prague argument has always been, well, if we say the radical thing, people are going to be scared away. But the fact is, the pragmatic argument doesn't work, right? This playing the middle ground. Oh, we're just like both of you. Come join us. Doesn't work. It's never worked.
Correct.
It's never going to work. So you might as well say the bold radical thing. I mean, it worked for Ron Paul, right? He got up there in the Rudy Giuliani moment that everyone always cites. And, he stood there and he thought he had what was coming, and he turned that little moment that he thought, everyone was going to hate him for into a moment that people are talking about. That was 2008. I don't know, almost 20 years later.
Yep.
16 years later.
And if pragmatism is really out the window in modern American politics across the board, then it's not really your sound messaging that's going to win things anymore. It's your ability to foment and harness chaos. And chaos has been fomented for sure. So how is Chase going to steer this one? That's all that is, because, in politics, there is no such thing as negative attention. Because if people are talking about you, people are retweeting you, and you're getting attention and you're getting looks and you're getting views. There is no such thing as negative attention. Every bit of it is an opportunity to campaign.
Just like Marge said in that little interview, right? He's like, attention is what matters there. And then it doesn't matter what Donald Trump said overall or who he said it to. It's the fact that he said libertarian, and people went and checked the Google Trends on it, and it just shoots right up. And then people go, and then the trend for like free Ross, that one was actually funny. I couldn't find the chart again, but I saw in one of the chats it went up, and then it came back down overnight, and the next morning spiked back up again. Like, who is this Ross? Right, like that's the attention you want. And and I just want to call out Matt Carter. I see him talking about the MH370 shit. Yeah, that shit's wild. And Ashton Forbes' work on that. Yeah, that's some wild shit. And maybe we should get into that at some other point. But actually, let's see if we have him on, and we'll do some giant conspiracy show about MH370. That'd be fun.
There we go. All right. Before we get to Drunkard of the Week, we're going to look at the nominee that didn't make it, but deserves to be looked at. This is given to me by Mr. Stephen Hilton. These are Google AI search results. Somebody Googled cheese not sticking to pizza. Google says you can also add about an 1/8 cup of non-toxic glue to the sauce to give it more tackiness.
You've never heard of edible glue?
It also said, yes, it's possible to train 8 days a week. Yes, there are many gay characters in Mario Kart, including Birdo, Koopa Troopa, Wario, Waluigi, Yoshi, Lakitu, Donkey Kong, a late-in-life gay with a child. Bowser.
There is no way this is real.
A late-in-life gay who kidnapped
This is completely fake.
Oh, this is real. This is real. They had to launch a massive IQ update because this all came out like in the same week.
Well, this is like when
hang on.
Was it Microsoft?
How many rocks? How many rocks shall I eat? At least one rock per day.
This is like I missed what was it? Was it the Microsoft one that they had out there, and within like a couple hours of it being live, they had trained it to be Nazis? They had trained it to be a Nazi. Was it Google? I couldn't remember which one it was.
Oh, trained to be a Nazi. I think that was Microsoft.
Yeah, that was Microsoft.
Here are some ways to clean a washing machine. Run the hottest cycle with 1 quart of chlorine bleach in the drum. After the cycle ends, run another cycle with 1 quart of distilled white vinegar. Terrible idea. Don't do that.
Doesn't that create
chlorine gas?
Fun, right? Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. Big failure.
Well, That was like the Alexa that told the little kid to stick something in the electrical outlet.
Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious.
You're grounded.
All right. Well, we're going to get to drunkard of the week.
I am not fucking drunk.
Well, 19th or blue.
Every pretty girl deserves to go to a ball.
This is everything about it's a clam. I love it.
I gotta be honest with you, I feel like I'm a little bit too drunk to stand up.
On Wiedersehen, asshole.
I'm drunk right now.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Drunkard of the Week. For anybody out there who wants to nominate for Drunkard of the Week, the category basically means that it's somebody who's in power in some way, shape, or form who did or said something that could really only be explained if they're drunk. And so it could be something terrible. It could be something awesome. It could be something really funny and stupid. This week, it's Mr. Pete Buttigieg.
The effects of climate change are already upon us in terms of our transportation. We've seen that in the form of everything from heat waves that shouldn't statistically even be possible, threatening to melt the cables of transit systems in the Pacific Northwest, to hurricane seasons becoming more and more extreme, and indications that turbulence is up by about 15%.
I'm not as think as you drunk I am.
So there's Mr. Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, talking about how turbulence is related to climate change. It's astounding, man. These people think that hurricanes are somehow just getting exponentially worse. There's never been worse hurricanes than there have over the past 2 decades, and it's because of climate change that's caused by human activity. Well, y'all, if you go back in time, just look at the insanity of storms that have happened throughout history. Just because there are a few heavy hurricanes that happened over the last few years doesn't mean jack is not proof of climate change. This guy is a lunatic. Why is the transportation secretary even talking about this? That's the real question.
Yeah, the biggest argument, right? Like, how do you measure storms in the past, right? It's kind of difficult, but the easiest way to really do it is based off of like the deaths from severe weather, which like we've reduced those deaths to like minuscule levels compared. And for the record, I like trains. I rode one down to DC, and I took a car back because I didn't feel like waiting. But I like trains. I worked in the railroad industry for a while.
Freaking Zach. This is all gays love trains for some reason.
Oh, jeez.
That's so good. That's so good. Zane, you're on mute, man.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for reminding me. A couple more things about hurricanes, by the way. Even if you look at like 40 or 50 year hurricane trend, so when we actually do have good data about how bad they were, there is no evidence over that time span that the hurricanes are actually getting worse. Also, as Nick just said, compared to 100 years ago, the number of climate-related fatalities that we have today is only 2% of what we had 100 years ago. So to the extent that climate change is happening, let it rip. Because all of the bad stuff that happens because of climate change, we're going to be able to fix and accomplish a bunch of other stuff because of all of the development that we get to do while causing the climate change.
Plus, we'll drown out the coastal cities, which I consider a win.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You got the forecasting and the tracking and the warning systems that are in place, which a lot of people that lost their lives in Katrina, there were government people going up and down the roads, with loudspeakers for days. Get out of here. There's a really bad storm. And everyone's like, screw you. I'll be fine. Okay.
Yep.
Here it comes.
Yeah, don't live below sea level by the ocean. That's just dumb.
Oh, Zach.
And that goes for New Orleans and Houston.
Nome is coastal. We can't have the coastal regions go under because Grumpy Gnome will be devastated.
We can move the Nome.
Okay. We can save the Nome. If a big hurricane comes, we can all run down and save the Nome.
Yeah, you can hop on a train and come inland.
Oh man. Okay. So this episode, we got stuck talking about libertarian stuff for so long. The title of the episode is "The Four Candidates of the Apocalypse." The four
literally missed the biggest news of the day.
I know. The four candidates are Donald Trump, Chase Oliver, RFK Jr., and Joe Biden.
Jill Stein.
You almost forgot because he did too.
Yes. No, you're 100% correct.
Cornel West.
No, none of those are candidates. None of those matter.
Jill Stein got a big cash infusion from somewhere.
I don't care. She's going to get a 0.1% just like she always does. So I don't care about her. And she's friggin' socialist, communist.
Ben Stein. There you go.
So I don't really Ben Stein. There we go. I'll take that.
I'd rather have Ben Stein than Jill Stein.
But Ben Stein's economics are garbage.
His game show, though, was right on.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of my least favorite elections that I have choices on. But at the same time, the news from today, while I 99.9% won't vote for Trump, the fact that Trump the verdict was guilty during his trial makes me want to vote for Trump, even though I would never actually do that. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on the Trump trial from today?
Well, besides the street cred he's got now for having a felony, and the fact that this probably leads to some bigger issues society wide, because I think the right wing is going to see this as an existential threat, and the most dangerous, pissed off left wingers are annoying and they destroy shit, but like pissed off right wingers
declare war.
So that's a very, very scary, dangerous possibility that we want to avoid. And you just back them into a corner with an existential threat, saying that their leader is that, and he's under indictment in other states, federally, whatever else, down there in Georgia, everywhere else. So that's a very scary part. But damn it, having someone obviously prosecuted in a political witch hunt and convicted basically of conspiracy to maybe commit a crime that I don't think even the crime had to be proved happened, just a conspiracy that may have ended up resulting in a crime if a crime might have happened. Like, it's very, very weird what the instructions were on that. And I think it's it comes off like complete political witch hunt, and I think the appeals are going to be quite interesting. But,
I think this ensures Trump's victory.
But I think it ensures victory, and I like the so this with the addition of the promises he made to us, like freeing Ross and putting libertarians in his cabinet. That's a very interesting proposition, even though I really don't want to vote for the guy. I voted for him in 2016. I didn't vote in 2020. He's I
think he's going to just dominate in November. I've already seen people who are speaking out on Twitter who don't vote, who are saying I'm absolutely going to vote.
What I think is going to be interesting now is I have a feeling the RFK campaign might be cooked from this.
Can I agree?
At least it's my thesis on this, that a lot of people that I know that were in our libertarian circles saw RFK as the biggest reasonable middle finger out there.
Yep.
And so they fell in line with him. But now you've got a president with a plausible political prosecution who's been convicted out there, and it seems like all the forces that be closing in around him. That's starting to look like a much bigger middle finger, and I don't think we're going to get the COVID, the reckoning from COVID that we still deserve that we didn't get in 2022 because of this. But I think we're going to start seeing a shift in the momentum that RFK had for being the one speaking out.
Well, because it's going from one guy saying they killed my uncle to they're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. There you go.
I really think we're going to start to see a swing in the RFK numbers.
Yeah, you could probably be right about that, because I personally think he was pulling more from Biden than anybody else. But I think a lot of the independents, you're right, want the middle finger towards the establishment, and it's not going to be the Libertarian Party, because why would anybody be reasonable? It's going to be a Kennedy for some unknown reason, and now it's going to be Trump because he's getting screwed over by his political opponent.
Right?
So
I mean, part of the Kennedy thing is that there's a serious money behind it, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
they paid $1 million for ballot access in New York.
That seems about right. Yep.
So
That's pretty low price, honestly.
Well, y'all, look.
Yeah. So this is just one
Go
more
ahead,
thing
Zane.
on the
Yeah.
Trump thing, which is that I've been thinking for a while now that the only reason I think that Trump might be a threat to the establishment is that the establishment thinks that he's a threat to the establishment. You know, we can sit here for hours and talk about all the ways that Trump completely failed at draining the swamp, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is that there's still something about him that's making the establishment run scared. And just to my most base instinct, there is the temptation to get on board with that.
Interesting. And Sumclack also says she's in a blue state and many still have no idea who RFK Jr. is. Jill Stein is more popular.
Oh my God.
Interesting. Well, y'all, I've complained a lot about the LP tonight. Things did not go our way at the convention this year.
Overall, they did, though. We got more exposure than we've ever had.
Okay.
Overall,
you're right.
August swept the ONC again.
We had Afro Man play lemon pound cake.
Okay, you're right. Okay, I get it. We did do pretty well in convention, other than the presidential and vice presidential nominee. Okay,
there we go. Okay, so yeah,
what I realized at convention is that me personally, and I know that there are other folks like me, I have failed this past year to get more organized in local politics and in my state Mises group. So I would highly recommend anybody out there who is politically active, wants to be politically active, wants more freedom, find out the local chapter of your Mises group, your Mises caucus, because
you don't even have to find it. You could just go to the lpmisescaucus.com, takehumanaction.com, sign up. And if your state's on their shit, they'll be calling you within a couple of days or so after you fill out the survey. I think it gets delayed if you don't fill out the survey that comes back after you sign up. So please fill out the survey.
Yeah. Get involved in local politics, because that's where it all starts. Libertarian Party is all about changing culture and changing minds.
I think I'm going to go try to make the effort to go to a township supervisor meeting.
Have fun.
I don't know what will go on there, but that's how you start local, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get up there and start rapping about Vladimir Putin in Ukraine or something.
There you go.
There we go.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Well, that'll do it for the serious portion of this show. Not that any of it should be taken seriously. Thank you all so much for watching. We're going to watch 3 funny videos before we get out of here. Really appreciate the new viewers that hopped on board after the convention. Hope y'all stick around for more. We have another podcast, kind of a side gig with this one called Liberty Libations Pants Drunk, where it's one-on-one conversations that are hour to 2 hours long, give or take. So you can go check those out on Apple Podcasts only. And yeah, this show is brought to you by Rabbit Eye Wine, the blueberriest and tastiest wine in all of Georgia. So go check out peacefulc.network to get some merch, including that Liberty Libations pint glass that Nick was drinking from, and a Threat to Democracy shirt. We've got Drink Beer, Spread Misinformation t-shirts. We've got a bunch of stuff. So head on over there.
That was highly, highly popular at the convention. Like, several guys that I rode back in the car with were like, dude, where'd you get the Threat to Democracy hat?
Nice.
Everyone wants the Threat to Democracy hat.
Yeah, it was a good hat. I got a lot of looks. Wearing that around DC was particularly unsettling for me. So the going through security at some of the museums and going right next to the White House was a strange experience, to say the least. Lots of people watching. It was weird. Hey, Brian, I'm sorry I'm not a freaking millionaire who can just bring around a bunch of merch wherever I go. You shut your mouth, okay? You can go order it online. It's not that hard. You go order it.
It comes within a week. Like, it comes fast.
Yeah, it comes fast. It's drop shipping, so it'll come fast, and it's very quality stuff. I try to get the best quality items that they have on the shelf. So there you go. All right, y'all. Let's watch a couple funny videos and be done for the night. How about that? All right, so this is a German football team after their team failed to score in 5 straight matches. They're all pointing their arrows towards the goal so that their team knows where the goal is. It's about 30 to 50 people with arrows pointing them at the goal. Just so their team knows where the goal is, because they hadn't scored in 5 straight games, which I just thought that was hilarious. All right, next up, we've got the very strangely difficult thing of, well, if it ever loads, trying to run with the same arm and the same leg at the same time rather than how you normally run.
No way this is that hard. There's no way. Oh my god.
I can't imagine that's easy.
Dude, stop. That's not real. It's not a hop, dude.
Like, stop messing around.
It's not a hop.
Actually do it. Don't mess around. That's crazy.
Dude, that's like, dude, you're like,
dude, I challenge anybody out there to go try it, because it is,
go try that.
You feel so stupid and uncoordinated. It's amazing.
I got to see Alden do this.
Oh my gosh, dude, he already runs weirdly. It's him running like this might actually be his natural way of running. And then the final one is a wisdom tooth patient.
Oh, yeah. Dad. Oh, they broke my lip. They did not take your lip.
That looks seems straight out of a horror movie.
It took my lip. Well, there you go. Yeah, everybody out there, thank y'all for watching. Steven, Zane, Nick, y'all got anything else to say before we head out for the evening?
Thanks for putting up with our inside baseball bullshit today, but I hope we broke it down well.
I think we did.
Lots of opinions on this, and we're going to see what happens with this Trump, and hopefully, at least with him being convicted, the cities are probably not going to burn tonight, so that's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
I was warning people, like, be ready if you live in the cities, because you're probably going to have a summer of love coming up, but
yeah,
I think for now you're all right.
I think so.
I think it'd be interesting if Trump actually goes to the Fulton County Jail, how fast they'll get the new jail approved.
Yeah, so
Do
true.
you think he's going to have his own suite in there?
Yeah.
No
He'll
bed
be the
bugs.
first one to get commuted over there. Hey, if any of this hoopla has inspired you to get active on a local level and you're on the south side of Atlanta here in Georgia, we have an affiliate for Fayette and Coweta counties.
Yes.
We're getting together on the 15th at Old Chicago and Sharpsburg.
Do it. Do it. Zane, you got anything before we go?
I just need to go to bed.
Perfect. Okay. Well, that'll do it for this week, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Wrexham Texan on Sundays at noon Eastern, and Free Georgia Podcast on Mondays at 8 p.m. We'll see you next week. Peace.